Dear trading friends, today we will take a detailed look at the Renko candle. This will be very exciting, as Renko candles can be used, for example, price action, support and resistance can be read. Various indicators can also be applied well for this purpose. But what is much more important is that I will go through in detail with you what to pay attention to in order to apply these correctly. I will now continue with my screen monitoring. I am now on the Ethereum 3-minute chart. First of all, I should mention that you can apply these Renko candles, which I will show you now, to any asset provided by TradingView. I will also show you how that works. The very first thing you need to do is select the Renko candles up here at bar style, then scroll down a bit and click on Renko. You will then see that you have a bit more or cleaner price action that you can read. I will also show you this in combination with a few indicators that work really well here. But higher highs, higher lows, and similar patterns are displayed wonderfully here. The next point I want to mention is that we should only apply the Renko candles on a small time frame. Now we will go through in detail what happens when you apply this to a daily chart, hourly chart, or 4-hour chart. This is because they can, as I call it, repaint, since they can move up and then back down again. First of all, when you have the Renko candles, you need to go to your asset, then right-click and go to Settings. Under the Symbol section, if you scroll down, you will usually find the ATR there if you have it enabled. This means that the box size is calculated based on the ATR, which is not correct. There are two different things. Here, repainting can occur very strongly, but there is also no option to set an alarm when using an indicator with ETR candles, which is why you go down here and click on Traditional. And now we come to the next point, the box size. The box size, and I will zoom in a bit, so we can see it more clearly, means that if I have a 3 here, it indicates that a box is $3 in size, depending on which chart we are in. If we are in a 3-minute chart, for example, if we had this entire price movement and here 3, 6, 9, 12 or $15 price movements, then it would all be represented as a 3-minute candle, which would actually only show us in the form of a price. However, if I roughly set it to 10, you can see that the Renko candles look quite different, and we then have a market movement of $10 that constitutes one candle. And there are several things to consider when you have your asset. You always need to look at what size or value your asset has and how the price movements are. If we were to look at this in a very, very volatile asset T, we could perhaps make an example now. Let's just dive in and take Bonky. Bonk, an incredibly volatile coin, and if I select it here now, you will definitely see this first. Why? The Bonk simply has such a low value that I first need to go up here, make the settings again, and take a look at the price of the Bonk. I know that Bonk has a very, very low value, so I can display this 0.00 and a little bit more. I reset the chart view here, and only then do I get Renko candles displayed. It's important to note this when using an asset that has a low value. It should also be noted that the smaller you set the box size, the more it will also engage in repainting. Let's go back and take another look at Ethereum, and I would like to show you something. If I now use this small box size here, and you can see it live, I still have the box size set to Bonk at 0.001. Then I experience this kind of repainting, which means that everything happening in terms of price movement is going down. This is not confirmed yet because this 3-minute candle that we have set is not completed yet. And that means it can go down at any time, go up, move in the other direction super fast, but also in the other direction. This means that one should definitely not use a box size that is too small, and it is important to really adjust it to one's asset. I'm going to go back in and show you this, for example. Now in the daily chart. Let's do it this way. I'll go into the daily chart. In the daily chart, it looks quite chaotic as it can't display very much. That means I will set the normal box size again, in this case averaging $3 per price movement. In a daily chart, it is important to be very careful, which is why I mentioned earlier that it should be applied on a smaller time frame. This means that it can range from about 1 second to 3 minutes, which is wonderful, maybe even 5. However, in a small time frame, this is really ideal. What does this mean? This area here shows that the 8th of October is here. So the 9th of October started with this candle, and all these candles downwards represent the 9th of October. The problem is that we are now on October 10th, which is today's date. We currently have an upward trend, but if the price were to go down again and perhaps fall further, then all of this would disappear and continue to go down, and where the daily close is, that is where it would end. So, even though this looks great right now and I say, okay, wow, I could make wonderful trades here. No, you can't do that because they are only really highlighted with color once the day is completed. unlike in this case, where they are shaded gray or in a slightly weaker color. That's why I recommend using Renko candles on a low time frame. Time frames like 1 second are wonderful as not much happens in terms of repainting. There needs to be a massive price movement within that 1 second. Exactly, that would be the first point. What else is there that we can look at? With Renko candles, you should work with a strategy script. I'll briefly touch on that now. I have the momentum move scalper here, and we currently have the 3-minute chart. And I can, for example, looking back at the 3-minute chart through the Renko candles on until April 2024, and now we are in October 2024. But if I now go to the 1 second chart, and if I take the 1 second chart, it shouldn't go back that far at all. But you will see now it is simply reloading after it has loaded, and I scroll down here. I am still in the 4th month. Why is that? Because the backtest is calculated based on the Renko box size. This means adjusting the settings in this case. I can now show you a small example. I will click on one here, confirm that, and then you will see that we have significantly fewer backtests in the list of trades. This only applies in the case of backtesting, so you understand that the Renko candles will go back as far as the Renko candle size, meaning the box size is set. And here you can see that when I set the box size to 1, I am in the 9th month. That means we are now looking back exactly 1 month. If I have a box size of 1, for example, we will leave that out again. I will now go back to the box size of 3. Therefore, the lower the time frame, the better it is, as this reduces repainting. But in that case, 1 second, 1 minute, or other seconds as you have. I would not exceed 3 minutes in my opinion when applying this for trading. But what is so ideal about Renko candles? That might not look as good in comparison. And then I will open another script or another chart, as in this case, for many who may not have a good understanding of price action, which you simply get beautifully represented when I compare it now left and right, so you can see it. We go down here. If you compare that, we have a short lower high, a new lower low, a new lower high, and so it continues. For those who find it a bit difficult to read, they can use this Renko chart alongside to see that we have further lower lows and lower highs, and our price action continues here. And you can already see how clearly it is actually presented when you have this. And it is the same when applying price action. When should one perhaps close a position? We see this in this case here. We have a wonderful rise. Sorry, let me do that again. We have another rise, but we are not able to make a higher high anymore. We go down again and create another lower high. That means, in this case, we know that the strength will apparently go straight ahead. And I should perhaps try to close my position until I see a new wonderful price action. Just like in this case here, it is slowly starting again. We are also surpassing this high here and have a trend reversal. And here it starts again in the case that we are no longer making higher highs, In this case, we had the highest high. And what is happening here? We go further down here and it continues to go down. Of course, it depends on what you do. If you are scalping, you should definitely close as soon as possible and look for new entry points. Whoever says they go a little further with the trend is, of course, wonderful use, and the same goes for support and resistance zones. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I actually wanted to remove the markings here. Support and resistance zones are simply tested repeatedly and wonderfully, and I will show you an indicator that does this, so you can see which one it is. Here we have, I will briefly talk about the script, a wonderful support and resistance channel from the Lonesome the Blue. A fantastic indicator that shows this especially well with Renko candles, where we have support and resistance zones that need to be considered and where we might see reversals. For example, you can see this area here. The level that was established here was tested once, tested twice, tested 3 times, and was tested again here. And only then did it break down. It made another retest, and then it continued from there. That's why I believe you can use this with various indicators. I can also recommend the smart money concept from LuxAlgo, which is highly recommended because it focuses on price action and nothing else. This way, you can see what it is. Smart money concepts from LuxAlgo can display this wonderfully, including the fair value gaps. But what does it show you? When do we have actual structural breaks? Where do we have new structure? Meaning where do we have new higher highs? So break off structure. And this can certainly help you determine the direction. In this case, just briefly, you can enable color candles and then you will see when the bullish trend is and when the bearish trend actually is. Here perhaps is a small example. We had a breakout here and then it was tested twice again. This high was tested 2 more times before it continued to rise. This means that you really have a wonderfully clean chart structure here. What can happen, and I want to mention this as well, is that if we look at a 3-minute candle, let me find that, we have a 3-minute candle that has had a bit more price movement, meaning this candle has a price movement from $24.45 to $24.03.30, so a little over $10 down. That was on October 7th, and we will take a look at that here now. So this is exactly the area. And in this case, when I scroll left and right, you can see that although we have many more candles here than we do here, it was exactly 9 minutes, or 3 candles, that brought us this total dump here. What is shown here in these small candles, as we see on the left, I will zoom in a bit more. It can happen that if you say you are in a long position and for some reason you go long here, and then strong candles come in that go down, it may be that these are not immediately displayed in red here, but with this shaded red that I mentioned earlier, and they are only completed later. When this happens, it may be that a correct signal or a close signal only comes later, even though you suspect it here. But this only occurs after the completion of the 3-minute candle or from the 1-minute candle, however it may be, this happens further down. This means you do not have 100% accurate signals, so be really aware of this. It is super important to understand when you apply this and when you trade. So, I actually just wanted to remove the drawings again exactly, and this is really something to keep in mind. Accordingly, it is also important that if you apply any strategy script, then these results are of course not correct. You will also be warned by TradingView down here that this is not the case, that it is completely correct, because here, for example, here at close signals, if this candle is too strong and we officially get a close signal here, these candles could possibly be back here, and we might have a slightly larger loss of 0.41%. This could definitely happen, so be really aware that trends can be traded, and that one should always manually observe what the price is doing, and perhaps, which would be very important, in connection with another chart, because what is not displayed here, or is very rare, are these wonderful wicks and shadow candles, which provide us with a lot of information from the chart. And as a small example, in this case I am doing this here with a rectangle and going in here and moving over here. You see here, this would not be displayed for us in this case. If I also move further over here, we have the chart on the left and the chart on the right. This shadow is not shown to us. You see it here? This would have been exactly a shadow downwards. Here, if I go down here, which is actually not displayed on the candle, on the Renko candle. And what has happened here is that this Renko candle briefly took 2 or 3 of those boxes down, but because this candle here on the left, or rather on the right, which I saw here, has gone up again, it does not show us this shadow. However, looking at it from a later perspective, we can see that we had another retest exactly from this gap here. Going down, making another retest, and then the price continues to go down. For people who naturally have the right experience, they can apply this simultaneously, but otherwise, one cannot really say that this price here, or this price action here, what you see here, was applied wonderfully. And so one should really use Renko by being present live when using it, and truly observing how the prices behave. Divergences are also wonderfully displayed here. When using a divergence indicator, such as RSI or similar, you can really see how these divergences are shown. That's it for the Renko candles. You now know how to apply them so that they work correctly. And I would be happy if you could leave a like, leave a comment to help push the video a bit. Thank you very much. See you next time.